Arrows. I would put our rock, arrows things.
Trying to remember if we've had a rule.
Yeah, they said it ran out.
How many minutes we have to come?
Man, I'm too worried about this back here. I'm gonna start writing a lot of
Right?
If I was very interested, I wrote something.
I think the base rule is working on it, so pretty much. I'll just do them.
Is it good? Let's go and get started. Thanks for everybody coming out in the bad weather. We're a resilient bunch. Making warm. That's right. All right, let's start off. It's the duty of all members of this board to avoid both conflicts of interest and potential conflicts of interest. Does anyone on the board know of any of the matters coming before us tonight that might cause a conflict? Yes, ma'am.
When we consider the small grants, I had a conflict with the Colburn Earth Science Museum on this, so I'll recuse myself on
Very good. Anybody else? All right, if not, we'll proceed with that. We'll start all our meetings off with public comment. We have 3 minutes for the members of the public who wish to be heard on any matter. Preferably matters that might come before us, but we kind of leave it open. So does any member of the public wish to be heard tonight? Yes, ma'am. Would you give your name and where you live? Or you can just go right up here and sit the seat there, I guess.
Sit right here.
Be fine.
Hot seat.
Right, so yeah, pull the lights down. We'll get enough.
Hi, my name is Ann Babcock, and I am with a new nonprofit organization here in Buncombe County called Friends of Buncombe. And 2 of the board members are also here, Doug Durant and Claudia Nex. And the reason that we came is to introduce ourselves to the CRA. And we've been hoping to do this. We've been very excited about your organization for a while, and I look forward to the opportunity to let you know about us. We formed a little less than a year ago for the purpose of advocating for greenways and trails throughout Buncombe County. And the purpose originally of our formation was to kind of go forward after the county commissioners adopted the master plan back in September of last year. And we are, some of us served on that commission going up to that point, and then of course we have more people on our board. What we hope to do is advocate for greenways, advocate for the implementation of the master plan as it was written. We hope to educate the public on the benefits of greenways. We hope to talk to elected officials and let them know how important it is. And we hope to raise money for funding of feasibility studies, planning studies, and possibly construction. We feel this is really important because families need places to recreate outdoors. It brings families together. And greenways are something that can cross all levels, age levels, ability levels, income levels, and gets people outside. It helps to promote health through reduction of obesity, levels of obesity. And we also feel that it's very important for economic development in Buncombe County because businesses that want to locate here look for quality of life issues, and greenways and parks, open areas, beautiful open areas, we believe will bring more economic development to the county. It's a fairly massive master plan, but we have decided that we would identify one section to start with that we would concentrate on trying to get started as sort of our showcase segment. And that section is going to be from Hominy Creek out to the Arboretum and slightly beyond via Brevard Road. And Claudia is going to talk about what we hope to accomplish with that section of the Greenway. So thank you so much for letting us be here and letting us tell you what we want to accomplish.
Thank you. Pam, who's next? Are we okay on time?
I won't talk on.
No.
The 191 corridor is a very important corridor for connecting the Arboretum and folks that live in the Bent Creek area to the rest of the town. We see it as a possibility for alternative transportation as well. So that we have gotten wide outside lanes on that road, but no parent is going to be willing to take their 3-year-old or their 7-year-old on a bike on that road. But if we have a trail along it, we feel that that's going to create a whole new opportunity. And we see this as basically a three-phase project. The first phase would be connecting Hominy Creek up to the farmer's market. That is probably the easiest one to do. And I have brought some pictures to give you, and we can pass them around. Most of these pictures are of the first phase. Shows you the road from the transfer station and Hominy Creek Park. And then coming underneath the Brevard Road Bridge, 191 Bridge, onto the old bridge. And a lot of you who've been here for a long time remember all the traffic had to go on this little dinky 2-lane bridge. Well, we got DOT to keep that bridge, so it's still there. And we can come across that, and it accesses up on top of the new road, just past the bridge. Or actually, just before the bridge. It comes out before you get to Bear Creek Road. And then the side of the road, from there to Bear Creek Road, is very level. It has been, an incline. They graded it when they made the road, and we feel that you could easily put a 10 to 12-foot path along the side of the road with a buffer. The challenge will be getting the DOT to allow us to have one lane of bridge crossing I-40 because there's no sidewalk on that bridge. It is an overbuilt bridge. There's 4 lanes going south now, 2 left turn lanes, 2 straight through lanes. We would only need the section going actually across the bridge itself. You could have a ramp coming just down to the road and have the traffic merge around that. And it would have to be a protected bikeway on that. Then you come back up onto the side of the road where it's been graded again, and you come up and cross where the Duke Progress Energy offices are. cross that little access road, you come to what the city has already done, is gotten pedestrian crossing there, and you can go right into the property, I mean, the farm project. So that would be our first project.
Thank you. Thank you, Chloe. Any other members of the public wish to be heard today? Mr. Rice?
I like taking the hot seat. Thank y'all very much. I had a very interesting tour with y'all at the facility meeting. It was a nice visit. There's some concerns that I came to from looking at Waynesville Community Recreation Center, and that was the amount of money at the time that that one was built. It was quite a bit of money, and today's value is going to be much, much higher. The other piece of it is that I see where they could have done things differently and have probably got the community to do some things and put it into segments throughout the community rather than housing it all under one roof. And that would be a potential for people in the industry world to have pieces that they could do that would spread it out rather than one little spot. The other thing is the amount of money that the county might be looking at in facilities or costs to buying land or purchasing would be a concern to me as a taxpayer on how we're going to get that money. And does this particular CRA law that we have right now on the book, does it cover that as a public hearing for people, the taxpayers, to be able to voice their concerns? In the past, we've come to county commissions and talked, but now we've got something in between that. So I think the notice and things like that are subject to be heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Any other members of the public would like to be heard today? All right, we'll move on to the next item. Is there a motion to follow the agenda as it's been presented? A second? Second. Been a motion by Commissioner Frost, a second by Mr. Briggs. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Approval of the minutes. Any questions or comments or additions, subtractions to the minutes that we have in front of us and presented earlier? Motion by Commissioner Belcher. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Ms. Johnson, any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the minutes as presented, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. We have adopted the minutes. Next, we have a report from the Facilities Committee on the visit to the Waynesville Recreation Center that we did last week.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as Mr. Rice alluded to, we went last Thursday to visit the Waynesville Rec Center, see their facilities, which are swimming pool, gymnasiums, workout rooms, community space, it's all inclusive for any kind of activities that we want to do to better their health. After we went there, we went to the Midwest facility, which is a private run facility. That's named on the same place as the community hospital, and got to see what they had to offer, which was a lot of the same sort of things. Some of their stuff was more space for certain activities that I think would be more beneficial to us. So we just wanted to see this as sort of fact-finding mission. We're going to there, Mr. Briggs, and of course, so we all got to see what other people are doing, and in our discussions of replacing the Zoller Center, that's one of our priorities. This is something that we felt like we all need to see. Staff was also there, Steve, along with us, so we got something as well. So So I think that will bring on a lot more discussion in the future about the possibilities for placing these orders.
Any of the members want to add?
Yes.
Ma'am?
I thought what was great about it, and Eleanor, everybody brought up really good points, but when Eleanor said really touched my heart, and that it was a true town recreation center, and there were people there who were there for their heart, there were people there for their arthritis, there were great big community rooms, there were basketball courts, and it was a true town recreation center, and it just did my heart good. And what they were able to do, and I can see us down the road being able to do things like this, they had enough revenue stream coming in to keep the memberships for the public really, really low. And to me, what a great balance to bring in things that produce revenue so that everybody in our community has good experience.
A couple other things too is, I'm familiar with the Waynesville Rec Center. And a lot of people in the western part of Buncombe County go there. And they have the statistics on that, so it's actually being used by people from Buncombe County now for, part of the reason is, as Mr. Frost mentioned, is the cost associated with it is lower, and that part of the county would tend to want to take more advantage of a lower cost facility. And the other is just, it's pretty convenient. It's really not that far from the western part of the county. I'd also say that for those of you that have to have a complete picture of what can be done, you also need to, members of the board need to try to go to the one in Kingsport, and Ed and Fran and Steve would probably share that with you, that you need to see the aquatics part of that, just to see how well done that part of it is. But it gives you just some other ideas as to what can be done to fit the needs. It was a good trip.
What would you, Joe, since you've been to the Kingsport facility, what would you say that you took away when you saw that I think you and Matt had both been there. You had a birthday party there, I think you said.
Yeah, I didn't make it that trip.
Okay, but y'all have got a little bit more perspective. What kind of things do you think we need to be, with Kingsport, we need to add to that we didn't see at the two places we went?
Well, one side is the competitive side. Now the solar pool is being used by the schools, it's being used for competitions. And the efficient use of the space at Kingsport it was just very well done in the pool area. They had, part of one side was, concessions, changing rooms, breakout areas, but above it was the aluminum seats, the benches, and, for the fans to be able to sit, or for parents to be able to come and sit. Like the Midwest facility, it was very open into the landscape. You could see out, it brought the light in, it brought the mountains in. There was chairs outside. It was very easy for people to just be part of the whole thing. The other is they did have some revenue streams there outside. They had a lazy river, and they had a outside facility for the kids, which I think is something that one of the people said, one of the leaders of the either the rec park or Midwest said that did they say that they wanted that, or if we would like to have that component as part of theirs. But the pools are just, the competition pools there are just, they're amazing. Just the way they're, and I don't know that we can do it that big, but the takeaways, you would see some things there that you would want to incorporate into a pool. That's the advantage of going and seeing these. Some of you will, and Fran and Steve and Ed have been there, they might want to elaborate. But I think the big thing was the spectating, the competition. It was more competitive. The pools would be better for the schools to be able to use. And that is part of what we have to do here, is not only is this a community pool, it's also competitive. We've got to figure out, what schools and maybe all the schools would want to use it if it was good enough. I don't know, but that's the main differences between.
For me, after visiting the Slugner Pool, it was a matter of understanding the needs of the students, but the needs, as Commissioner Frost suggested, the rest of the community. And what I learned across all of these visits is that therapeutic uses of the water, aerobics, water for seniors, water for children, is a different temperature than competitive water. So I was very grateful to learn in Waynesville that we don't have to have two pools, that there are ways to create bulkheads and efficiencies to be derived in the structure of the pools so that we can accommodate both of those purposes without having to build two pools. And it expands the use for the community. So I thought that was really good. I also, as we think forward about this, based on what I think Fran and her crew reported as the attendance at the competitive events, which is sometimes up to 250 people. You think about that sort of your facility, I can't even imagine it. I would like for us to think about bleachers, either expandable or something for seating for parents and other students and that sort of thing.
That's why you need to see the Kingsport. When you see the Kingsport facility, you'll go, that's what we need to do. They just did such a good job. The other thing, which is very, very important, I heard somebody mention this, is when you go to the Kingsport pools, you see you pay for it. It's not just public money. You see the name of their local health officials. Here with the Bishop, they built the one pool that had the handicap, had the elderly in there, which I couldn't be in that pool, but anyhow. They built that. They built that pool. Hey, I could, 89, 86 degree water, I could be in it right now. But they built that pool, and there was a lot of other people that gave a lot of money to build that. And I think we could do that here in Buncombe County for facility problems. We don't have, there's people that would step up, especially with the health and wellness side. And they did that very well in the Kingsport.
One thing I noticed was that the Hayward Recreation Center does not make allowances for really poor people to be able to come. And I noticed Midwest has a sliding scale. I don't think we saw the fees, did we, for Midwest? So I don't know if
No, I don't think so.
No, and
It's a little different facility.
well, and Waynesville is Silver Sneakers that Humana pays for, but Midwest did not do that. So that's a whole segment of senior citizens that could go one, that could go the other.
Yeah, I think what I took away, there's a lot of people that, I think right now we're fact finding, we haven't committed to do anything. But I think, there's a lot of roles a aquatic center, rec center can do. And I think, the more we see of different ones, the more we can kind of say that would work, that wouldn't. And then once we decide if and when we want to go with it, we're going to have to do something at some point for sure. I think then we have to have a discussion of what we want it to look like, once we decide what's available and what works for our county. And it'll be interesting because there's a lot. Some had basketball courts, some had weights, and you have the Y and all the private exercise folks. You have the hospitals, we want to get involved. You have the schools, obviously. I know I was just spent the past 5 days in the Triangle area, Triad and Triangle. In Greensboro and Cary, they apparently have a pretty big facility, and they had the state championships in Cary. Next time I'm down there, I thought I'd go by. Apparently that's a pretty big one. But, just see what they have. And I think the more we see what we like, and we can discuss it. Because Absorber is just outlived, it's antiquated, and we need to do something with it. Because I think a very persuasive case was made by Absorber people when we went and visited that facility that we've got to do something. It's just not something we need to talk about years and years. We got to do it. It was pretty enlightening. I enjoyed it. It's always good to see it. Red Langston, who used to be with the county, was the director of the Waynesville pool, and it was always good to see him again. He's a good guy. And his thing was the bleachers, more room around the pool. Both him and the Midwest people, more room around. They said they cut it too close because it's cold. And it was cold that day, and you could feel it. It was coming through the windows. And then the security was another one. They said open, but not too open. Maybe open above, but not open. So I'm interested in seeing Kingsport, because I think security was an issue with the 14-year-old Haywood pool, or Waynesville pool. So any other comments?
I thought it was a great experience of community. I mean, that place rang out communities.
I think something else we should consider, something I took away from it, is that Haywood County, there are no YMCA's in Haywood County. There's not a lot of private competition in Haywood County, so they put an all-inclusive product for everyone to use. We won't be doing that, I suspect, just because we have a lot more people. We have almost 60,000 people in Haywood County, we have about 300. So obviously, we're going to be competing, so to speak, with private entities. There's 3 YMCA's in Buncombe County. So I think what we'll be looking at is something more that is based around a pool with a few other amenities. More than likely, that's what Buncombe County would need versus what Waynesville has.
Well, a lot of people can't afford $800 or $900 a year in gym membership. I can't, I agree in one hand, but a lot of people can't afford that. And a lot of people that are the most needy, who need to be fed, can't afford it. And that's why I was,
To me, I think you got 2 takeaways. I think both of your takeaways are true. We have an immediate need over there for that pool, and it may look a certain way. But to Commissioner Frost's takeaway, I did not know that there was a facility out there that did have that sliding scale. And in some of the poor areas of the county, that is a good thing. And they were able to fund it without dipping into their taxpayer money. I mean, they funded it. They figured out a way to have a sliding scale. And
That was Midwest, right?
well, the other
place had it. The other place had it.
$19.
Well, it's good. And is there one other pool in the immediate area that y'all felt we need to see?
Well,
Pools, plural?
there's also a new aquatics facility in Gainesville, Georgia, which is a little bit further away. That's
One in
possible.
Morganton. There's one in Morganton.
Really?
Yes, there's an aquatic center in Burke County.
So that would be easy. I have personally seen Greensboro, which is a competitive facility. I don't think that's particularly what we would want to do here. I agree with Joe that with what we've seen so far, the aquatics piece of Kingsport seems extraordinarily well done, and it's brand new. So I think I would probably prioritize another trip to Kingsport, and then we look at one of the others. We ask around and see, because I did not know about Burke County.
1 hour away.
Gainesville, Georgia is about 2 hours away.
Well, one other connection I'd like to see is, well, a couple of them. One of them is, I think we also, and I mentioned this to Chancellor Ponder, to get UNC Asheville's interest, to see, just for a lot of reasons, just to see what the interest and the temperature is there. And she suggested that I talk to Athletic Director Janet Cunningham. And so I think that might be worth, I'll be glad to make that call to Director Cunningham. And also to talk to the high school people about what they require for these competitions, because if it's going to be for all the county, at least we should know. We may not want to go there. I mean, course, NCA would be a lot higher than North Carolina High School. But it'd be good to know all that, and then we sit down and say, okay, let's sort all this out. That sounds a good way through the committee, because there'll be a lot.
I'd like to know that we can call on you all, Fran and Steve and Ed, that if we have some questions that need some research. I know one of the things that Ellen and I were talking about after that visit were the gymnasiums, and I understand the competition with the line, so to speak, and we should be sensitive to that, especially from cost factor. But I was also wondering what our civic groups do, children when they're playing basketball and where they're playing. It's part of understanding what needs need to be addressed in the community, and if there's a way to efficiently include some things on benefit and raise number of people, that's what we need to do.
If we ever surveyed or asked the public of Buncombe County what they want in rec facilities, or particularly Zorgner, I know the aquatic center, it seemed like there was a push maybe 10 years ago to do a new center, and it kind of peaked and then it went down. Do we have any data about what?
Not more recently than probably 2008, and that was fairly limited in scope. I do know there's been a number of calls of suggestions of what the public needs, but there hasn't been a survey out there to ask to prioritize facilities over different parts of the county and different user groups.
Okay, well, I was thinking more, I think since Zorger's in such horrible shape, probably what the community would want in a, I guess it depends on how we frame the question, because if we say a rec center, we give one response. If we say aquatic center, we probably, because the folks aren't going to know that you can do both, or it's possible to do both, whether it's desirable or not, I guess we have to decide that. Is there a way to do that that's been done before within the Parks and Rec? I was thinking it'd be tax, but they're already out, I guess. Tax notices is always a good one, because it goes to every tax, everybody owns property from the county.
And certainly get you that information.
Okay, let's be thinking about that, because,
Is there one more thing you can do? Look into the revenue stream of travel basketball league?
in volleyball.
Yeah.
Just remember the one they said, that's what all things down there.
Yeah.
And oddly, my recollection from many years ago, the #1 revenue producer was ladies softball. I don't know if that's still the case, but it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago. And it was like off the scale. I just wouldn't have guessed that one. But okay, very good. Any other comments about our trip and anything we need to do moving along?
Another way that you might be able to, if you decide to survey or something like that, to use to progress. Sometimes they'll put things in their mailers. And it's in their parallel.
Would you contact them and see if they would be willing to?
I wonder what
So that-
percentage of people get it online versus anything else. Probably not.
Probably, well, the ones you probably want to hear from
Or the mail.
are the main.
Yeah, that's right. Good point.
And if you, if I could ask Ed and my friend at the next director meeting, maybe bring that up and talk about, see if there's a way that we've done this. Seemed like we've had surveys before. that-
Here's the thought, what if the libraries had a little survey that people could fill out?
I think we need and we've all talked about it now, kind of needs assessment has a way of doing it and getting the community's inputs if you want to spend money where money's not well spent. I would also be interested as a follow-up to some of these visits that we're doing. You all can get the budgets for those places, the cost of building facilities, the cost of operating, whether they're in the black or not. And I would like to know the public-private share of those monies. Who did the naming? I mean, I don't need names, but how much, what percentage of the cost came from private sector sponsorships or naming opportunities or special fundraising programs or capital campaign or what the structures are. nice to employ some of those.
I think that should be your first strategy, is to fund it with some of the private. No, we don't have some public money, but there's just, I mentioned good progress. I mean, there's people that, I mean, PSNC may do a gas-powered, gas heat pump, I don't know. I mean, you know, there's just, good.
Good discussion. Anything else about the pool? All right, next we'll ask for a present report from, I'm sorry.
We did set our next facilities committee meeting, I'm going to get in the record, which is Thursday, March the 6th at 8:30 at the third floor of the county administration building.
You say 8:30?
8:30, yes.
Very good. Thank you. Good report. Next we'll hear from the Community Development Funding Committee on the Community Recreation Grant.
Okay, we have the list of recommendations.
Yes, it's coming up.
Okay. Copy of that. So we had our meeting, it was staff and then Eleanor and Tessie and myself. David was there for a little while. And so what you have is the recommendations from the, of course, the total grant was $42,750. That's the money that we had to work with. And so you'll see that we did not fund recommending the board that we did not fund the Asheville Area Arts Council. The reason is because that money was submitted and that money was going to a consulting firm, and we did not feel that that was within the spirit of the grant. We only had a limited amount of money, and that would have been 10% of the total would have went to that one. And the second one that we adjusted the amount was Asheville Downtown Association. It was $39.74. We ended up at $28.20, and the reason is because that amount goes directly to tents and other things that would actually be used for what we felt was the spirit of the grant also. The rest of the recommendations that there you'll see that we recommend funding them at the full amount. Now that did leave us with a remaining balance of $4,619. And we asked staff to go back to the community centers and the youth, there's three youth leagues, to go back to them because we felt like that those people did not have the staff possibly to make their requests. They were, you could look at requests and know that there are people that they pay money to do these requests. And some of these are based on volunteers only, and we felt like that they may be intimidated and they have needs, and so we decided that we felt like it was best to go back with that remaining money and solicit information from them and determine how we might equally spread that money between those community centers and youth leagues. So that would be, we would be bringing that recommendation to you, I'd say probably in the next 2 weeks. But that is what you have in front of you is what we're recommending to the board. And all of you, Tessie, anything to add, or anybody else?
I think the plan that we do not need to go ahead and approve this because these monies have to be spent by June the 30th.
Staff is recommending approving the report. That will let us get moving on getting the money out. And once this is approved, then we will contact the youth associations and the community centers, and we'll see what comes back. So we'll bring that back to you in the future. But we can get the bulk of this money moving very quickly.
So we're making a recommendation to you today that you fund $38,130.68.
I'll make a motion to follow the staff's recommendation.
Motion, Belcher, second. And just for the record, The difference between the community development funding, or community recreation grants and community development grants are basically more facility oriented in the community recreation grants. Is that right? And the community development grants are a little bit more broadly construed.
Yeah, this money is a part of a grant that has been ongoing for how long?
Many years, the recreation part of it.
For a long time. And this is really the first time that someone other than staff has actually looked at this. And typically, my understanding is that you would make a recommendation to the commissioners as a total dollar number, basically be part of the budget. So this is the first time we've actually been able to look at all of them individually as a separate board other than staff, I guess. It was a good exercise. I mean, everybody had their input. It was a good exercise, and if it wasn't, boots on the ground, or if it didn't meet the spirit of the grant, then everybody was very willing to support that we felt would make the most impact.
And we will, because our board kind of organized a little bit later, next year we'll do it a lot faster, because it is something that's is intended to be spent by the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th.
Can I ask when that process should begin for the new fiscal year?
I think in next year, we'll want to start this in August, because one thing it'll help everybody understand the difference between the recreation grants and the community development grants. We had some overlap in that process, and that confused us, and I think confused some of the community. So we would want to start this off early in the fiscal year and have these grants awarded probably, I would think in the September, October time. And then that's over.
But I really think it's a great thing that we're reaching out to these community centers and youth groups with what some people would consider as a small amount of money. $500 makes a big impact on some of those places. $1,000, $700, or whatever it is. So I'm really excited about it. Much excited about that, and reducing the amount to be able to do that is anything, really.
I'm curious then, as in the past, has there been some sort of auditing process after the fact to see if these projects are actually completed and done
That's
in a
right.
timely manner?
Did you say an auditing process, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah, we've had staff then go out and actually see what was done with the funding,
Okay, great.
and then report back to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee.
Okay.
And we also ask for receipts of what they spent.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll know.
Okay. Yeah, just curious.
And one other thing, I think that there is a emphasis on putting a little skin in the game themselves.
That's right.
And we don't want people to come in and say, give us this. We're not going to do anything, but we want money from you. So I know that I am familiar with a lot of the community centers. It's kind of, we'll do this if you can help us here. And I think we always give priority to that, always.
Green, just looking at this, for Black Mountain, where this playground equipment is going to go, it's going to change kids' outlook immeasurably. They've never had anything like this around where they live, and it will touch so many lives.
Okay, there's been a motion by Commissioner Cross, second by Commissioner Belcher. Any discussion or comments about these recommendations? Including the recommendation to the 4,600 to put that back into play with some of the recreation groups. All right, if not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the recommendation of the Community Development Funding Committee's recommendation on the grants, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The recommendations are adopted by 7 votes. Any other, well, let's see, we'll go to the next one. Discussion of format for presentations by applicants to the community development grants.
And staff awaits some direction from this board. I have a recommendation I'd like to present for your consideration. We have 18 applicants. Staff heard at the last board meeting that this board wanted to hear presentations from all of the applicants. If that is the case, we need to schedule that. I've been checking calendars. I talked to County Manager Green this morning to find out if there's a rush. There isn't, is the good news. Also found out one thing that may be a problem for us with our next regular board meeting. There's going to be a commissioners retreat on March 11th. It was which would be our next board meeting. Wanda felt that it would be beneficial for this board to have the input of the commissioners who attended that retreat when we begin this process. So I'm recommending that we look at our calendars for what would be the second meeting in March, which would be, if we had a second meeting, the 4th, 3rd, or Tuesday. That is March 18th. And I believe we should start probably 12:30, 1 o'clock, and plan on being here the balance of the day. Because we're going to have to hear probably, even if we tell the groups you've got 3 minutes or 5 minutes, we're probably going to average closer to 10 as they move through. And that would give us a little time for deliberation at the end of the presentation.
Hey, do we have a commissioner?
Or,
Yeah, we do.
excuse me, that would be the 25th. I misspoke, and this marked Fran's calendar. My apologies.
March the 25th?
That'd be March the 25th.
I can go, yeah,
25th.
you think so?
Yeah, we don't have a commissioners meeting, I don't think.
Well, the 18th we do that.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm fine with 25th.
Mr. Briggs has it. Anybody else?
The whole day.
I'm in RTD for Jackson Air Board meeting. It's a pretty important time of that board as well.
You got the agenda?
Would it be permissible then that we'll just set up, we'll do what amounts to a doodle poll with the board, so you can check your calendars, and we'll set that date and announce it, rather than try to settle it here?
It's fine. And does it have to be on a Tuesday?
I don't believe it does.
But what about,
What about the,
no, the 18th, we have a commission meeting.
On the retreat?
26th?
But yeah,
What about the 26th?
the Wednesday.
It works for me.
26th? We have a winner. Dave?
Let's do it, again, I down some leadership asked, well, I don't know if that's someone that's or not speaking or not. You're supposed to speak, that's not happening. I don't think so, I think someone else is speaking already, but if you could just put it out, maybe put those two dates, maybe those two, the 26th and 25th of those two.
But you can't make it the 25th, right, George?
Is that not too late?
Dr.
Dr. Green said that was okay?
She wanted
Yes,
to
indeed.
not too late.
All right.
Jack pointed out, I think our bylaw says shall have a regular meeting on the second Tuesday. Doesn't really say anything about, special meeting.
have a special
Okay. Yeah, well, we just go back.
Oh, they're head.
Chairman or majority members may call a
That's
special.
4 o'clock now. It's less general decision, whether it's trade,
Yeah. Okay.
be a special meeting on, special chairman, in lieu of the regular meeting.
All right, sounds good.
So 26 is looking good, or do we still need to poll another day?
That's what,
The 26th is a Wednesday. I'm good.
26 or 26.
I just have that, I don't know if I don't think we committed to speak, so I don't think that's a problem. I just have it down, and then we, especially when we stay in the county.
What now?
Okay,
Yes.
if you find that is a problem, would you just let me know, then we'll double check on the 27th.
Tentatively, we're on the 27th.
That would be tentatively special meeting on the 26th, and again, I'm recommending we start at about 1 and just charge on through.
I think that probably needs to affirmative vote.
Okay, can we still do the chairman said, set a date in the 25th? Okay, Mr. Westall says we need to probably have an affirmative vote on it since under our bylaws. Thank you for catching that. Is there a motion to permit the chairman to set a special meeting in lieu of the regular scheduled meeting for March? Motion by Tessie, second by Commissioner Cross. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. We'll set that up. I'm pretty sure 26, because I don't think we reset. Okay. All right, next up, again, Community Development Grant, or Community Development Funding Committee. Okay.
Oh, how long, did we decide how long the presentation was going to be?
We need the guidance on that.
Okay, how long were they?
I think we did 5 last time.
Yeah.
Five, it sounds like not much time.
It's
but
a lot of
it's
time.
Pretty good time to talk.
Yeah.
That's an hour and a half if they go
Yeah.
on time. So we're talking 2 hours probably, because people have to get up and down.
Yeah.
We won't, it's an important thing. A lot of people, this is a make or break for them, so we need to.
And the other thing, we probably need to have it someplace where they can do a PowerPoint.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe do it in the chambers where commissioners are. It's all set up, then we have a 3-minute time, or 5-minute timer, and Captain Hughes could put you on that.
Yeah.
'Cause in fairness to everybody, if everybody goes 6 minutes, then that's
Right.
not fair to people
Right.
that did 4.5, so.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, if we could check that, I'm pretty sure that'll be available. All right,
And you do have the discs that were handed, those are the complete applications. So
Right.
that will be good at bedtime reading on your laptop.
Way to do it, yeah, late night.
Late night reading.
hey, thank you, thanks for doing that, thanks for being here. Okay, Community Development Funding Committee on the Community Development Grants, the format. I guess we've kind of pretty much done that. 5-minute discussions on 26 tentative, pretty definite. And we go, we've got material. Anything else, any other, I don't know of any other restrictions or rules we want to put on it. Anybody think of anything?
Okay, so if we had a question for them, well, we want to do it at the end, or we want to do it right after they speak, so that we don't forget it, or how would we want it? Or would we, or we don't want to do it all?
I would say, well, the way we did it with the last time, we just went straight through, and I don't know, we might have had a few questions, but I don't think we asked them.
I don't,
I don't think we did either.
I mean, after the 5 minutes, there wasn't a need for a question. We had a lot of, yeah.
Well, as long as this group's comfortable with that, there are 2 ways to do it. You can ask in the middle of it, you can sort of hold your peace.
I think to have the first person that speaks halfway to the very end get a question.
That would definitely not be, yes.
So,
I think our question is during or after, or not at all, 3 options.
that's good.
So what's the pleasure of this board?
I'd say after each presentation, a minute for.
That's a good idea.
A minute, I think that's the issue
That's
for
great,
me, is
yeah.
that I wouldn't want one group to have her questions 10 minutes longer than anybody else, so I like what
I'm good
you
with
were
that.
saying.
I love that.
1 minute.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, let's put
Yeah,
that,
that
if you'll
means
remind
we
me.
can't round long, we just got.
exactly.
We don't ask any questions.
I know, one of the places that has that 1 minute rule. I know somebody texted about that 1 minute rule. and-
You can't explain. Okay.
And I assume that's a 1-minute response.
So, yeah.
Very good.
My wife will tell you that I have not been able to say anything in there. That'd be good.
Well, we want to, it is, again, this is this is an extremely important project for these groups. We want to give them every opportunity to talk to us.
Can I ask a point of clarification?
Yes, sir.
What is the 1 minute meeting? Does that mean that there's 1 minute total, or does it mean that there's 1 minute to answer each question that arises from this?
I would say 1 minute to answer, because I think if you have more than one board member, and it's a little bit longer than 1 minute.
No asking 7 questions.
Yeah, I think we just have to be cognizant of everybody's time and do your homework beforehand. So I would say 1 minute per question by this board.
Yeah.
Those are the rules. All right.
Competition over questions.
Yay.
All righty. Any other comments on any matter before us or anything on any board member's mind?
Just one thing real quick, we may have covered it, but at some point in time, we're going to need a really good presentation on absorbent pool as far as the need for the schools, the competitive side of the schools. We need to know that, okay, who's going to use it, if it was X size, would more people use it, who's using it now? And I think we need that we need that at some point in time. Would you agree with
Yes,
that?
I think 2 levels of that. One of them is what it is for, actually 3 levels. And one of them, Director Cohn's going to have to help. That's what Director Cohn. And I'm thinking, I don't know if there's going to be, I have my doubts about whether that would be, but I think we still need to make the inquiry.
I'd like to know the difference, what you said, the difference of high school competition versus college.
Yeah, well, I think it's 3 parts. It's college, high school. We want to do high school, so with championships, maybe they're more than high school competition. It's certainly high school competition, then high school championships, and then NCAA, which again may not be obtainable. It won't be obtainable unless UNCAA Asheville jumps in and do what? Because they have, I understand they have a pool underground. Is that right? Has anybody been out there? Anybody know this? I have heard it.
They have the old one that's under Justice, gym. It's been there for quite, for a long,
That's
long
what I was
time.
thinking, that they have one.
That's the only one I'm aware of.
Okay.
And the pool at the Asheville school, what level is that? Just high school?
But I've never seen that pool, but I will before the next meeting.
So one thing I'd like to know is, budget-wise, we don't really know overall what we have to spend, basically. We have these priorities, and we've talked about these things we want to do, but we still don't have a budget from, the screen that says, this is what the debt service would be, this is what the cap is on
She
what
was
we
gonna send
collected.
us that.
Yeah.
We have a draft of that. I wanted
So the
to
commissioners
circulate
have-
one that, well, yes, I wanted to circulate one that kind of had everything that's spoken for and what's not spoken for. And I asked her to review that, so we'll get that soon, let's circle up on that one, because we do have a draft of one, but I felt it was a little bit misleading, because there's a lot in there that we're pretty much obligated to spend, and we just spent, 40, some of it already, but, I didn't want people to think we had more money than we do, because I think that's not fair to the applicants and everybody else.
I think at least from my conversations with Wanda Green, she wants a recommendation from this board as to what is needed. The financing piece of this
Yeah.
is probably not where we need to focus right now. It's really what's the community need? And the financing will or will not follow that once we establish that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah,
I think that's
that's-
exactly
yeah.
right, because again, that's one reason we set this board up the way we did, to have 3 commissioners on it. We really want to do what the community needs.
But to your point, we're going to need to know that after we hear these presentations, because the pool is going to be X number of dollars, and it will decide that some of those won't, will or will not be funded. Because we decided that we're going to fund the pool, we just got to figure out what size and how that, all that works.
If we have a finite amount of money, which we do, we need to know then, what in the planning process is, we talked about getting all this information from staff, and they come back with the community once it's platinum thing and we only have enough to, do silver. We need to know that.
Well, that's where we get the other commissioners involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I really, that's right on the surface, but I think because of the way we've set this up, there is a possibility of more funding.
Right.
I don't know. I think if we have a chance, I think this has happened a lot in government in general. Oh, we can't afford, so we build something really below what we need even now. But that's the best we can do. I think the Board of Commissioners kind of don't want to do that anymore. We want to build what we need, and we will supplement if needed.
Or schools.
Yeah, you look at our school construction program. We're building 4 schools right now. And some years they didn't build any for decades, and they were building 4 in a row. Yes, sir. 5 schools.
5. Oh, yeah,
That's right.
5 schools.
Well, that's bond money, but it's
Yeah.
still, we got 5 schools going on. Stop before you say that. Okay, one last thing. The commissioners rolled through and approved our recommendation for the Collier Cove Nature Preserve. The Collier family was there. They were thrilled. It was a great
Awesome.
presentation. They just loved it and heard a lot about it, how they had wanted to keep it in the family. And they were very appreciative that both our naming suggestion and the fact that they were able to keep it and yet everybody else enjoyed it too. So that was a good night.
The granddaughter, she was probably, 10, she spoke about how she had walked there with her grandpa and how great it was that other kids were going to be able to walk there with their grandpas. It was awesome.
All right, anything else?
One little point. The adoption of the plan for, I think it needs to be in the minutes, the presentation for the applicants. I think the plan that was approved by commissioners here today, the minutes should say is in lieu of Article 5, Roman numeral B.
Okay.
Of the rules and procedures. I can't get with you, Angie, on that, but I think you're departing, that would depart somewhat from the prescribed rules for public comment. So I think there's no question about doing it, I think it should be in the minutes.
Okay, you want me to vote on it for the change?
Yeah, I think it probably ought to say the plan today, the plan for the presentation of the applicants for community development grants or community recreation grants should be in lieu of public comment section of Article 5 of the rules and procedures for the board.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Belcher, second. And this would include all changes, including the 5-minute, 1-minute response.
Yes, that's the main thing.
And any other changes that are inconsistent with Article 5.
Right.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Thank you, Jay. Okay, so our announcements. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for March 26th, beginning at 1 p.m. And it will be to be announced probably in the Commissioners' Chambers where we have the PowerPoint set up. And do we have a timer in the downstairs, the basement one? I can't remember. We can probably bring it. We can work it out. That'd be important for
Do
18
we
people.
need to have somebody there to run the PowerPoint and all that stuff?
Yeah, we probably have
So,
IT.
yeah.
We'll talk to Cam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other announcements or anything else for the good of the cause?
So is that meeting is the intent to also have our regular CRA meeting after the presentation, or is that our meeting?
That's a good question.
I think my recommendation would be that would be our regular meeting. There should be enough time to cover a few other agenda items as well.
Okay, so we'll make that the first order of business is to go through, since everybody will be there. Try to have, I guess, maybe the last 9 people could come half hour later. Y'all figure the timing of it. But we got an hour and a half if everybody comes and no questions. And everybody immediately goes back and forth. So we're probably talking 2 hours easy there. And then maybe we'll have a short meeting depending on what we have to, when we get together, we'll talk about that.
We can have some beverages and snacks maybe.
Yeah, that'd be a good day for that. Good call. So we'll do lunch here.
Could we maybe have Ed or Fran or Steve do a doodle about the Trophy Kingsport?
Yeah. That'd be good.
because I would like to go to games on the road.
Well, I think Ed had just mentioned that possibly this next facilities committee meeting, we could go to Kingsport.
How far is Kingsport?
It's a little over an hour to get there.
I just want to thank you all because up until the last trip to Waynesville, I had a little problem with road trips because my last one was not so good, so. So now I'm back into road trips.
So that's something that I guess we can discuss after this meeting, and we'll let you know.
You need to go see this.
Yeah, it sounds like it's, is that the newest one?
That's the newest one. That opened, I think, in the spring of last year, so it is brand new.
Yeah, 'cause I'm,
Belcher needs to come to find the restaurant again.
yeah, yeah, I'm thinking each one kind of builds on the other, and they say, we would have done this, we would have done that. And it seems like there is a lot of inquiries around the area. Each one of them wants to do a little bit, you know, pick it up a little bit more, so the newer ones would definitely be the ones to see. And if we could just get the information about the high school stuff, and I'll get with UNC athletic director coming. Okay, any other matters coming before us today? Now, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cross, second by Ms. Johnson. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Hey,
Yes. Yeah.